Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. What an honor. What a crowd this is. You got a lot of people outside, too. They want to get in. They want to get in. This was just going to be a little small one. They always turn out we're going to have a couple of hundred people. We want them for Caucus, so we were going to do that. But the crowd just gets larger and larger. We're going to be doing a rally here one of these days very soon. And because we've never had enthusiasm. In 2016, we did great. In 2020, we did better. We did much better. We got millions of more votes. But think of it, 2016, 2020, I think the enthusiasm for this, and it's still a year to go, but think of it, a year. That's not much. And we have just a very short time until January, right? The middle of January, that's what we have to do. And we have to win bigger than we've ever won before, because our country's going to hell. Our country's going to hell. We're going to stop it. So hello, Waterloo. We've been here before, and we love Waterloo, and you people are patriots. You built our country. You built our country. And thank you to the incredible supporters joining us. The legendary first, really, this is a legendary first, what we're doing in so many different ways. And our polls are a legendary first also. You know, we're leading by, I think in Iowa, we're leading by 41 points. Okay? That's not bad. And it's 41 and going up rather rapidly, too. But we're leading by a lot. And nationally, we're leading by numbers that nobody's actually quite ever seen before. We're beating DeSanctimonious, I think, by 67 points. I don't mean we're at 67. And we're beating them all. And we're beating Biden, very importantly. And most importantly, because we have to get him out of there. He is bad news. We're beating him by 11 points. That was Washington Post, ABC News, where they said, wait a minute. This is not good. They spent like $1 million on a poll. This is not good. Trump is leading by 11. We are going to disavow this poll. They're going crazy. Don't you love it? They're going crazy. I want to thank some of our friends, state representatives, Ann Osmondson. Ann, wherever you may be. Where are you, Ann? In this big crowd. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Charlie Thompson, where are you? Thank you. Thank you, Charlie. That's great. Good job you're doing, too, by the way. Derek Wolf. Derek? Wow, young guy. Good job you've done at such a young age. State Senator Lynn Evans. Lynn, thank you. Thank you very much. And somebody that's been with me, I think it might have been my first endorser all over the nation. You know, I had a lot of early endorsers, but this guy is very special. I call him the Marlboro Man. He's a handsome guy. I don't know if he's ambitious because he's confident. He's very happy doing what he's doing. He loves the people of Iowa, and he loves our country. Brad's on. Where's Brad? Where's Brad? Look at him. See? He stands. He wants to give the best seats to everybody else. He's an incredible guy. Thank you very much, Brad, for everything, and especially early on, years ago. We appreciate it. He had a feeling, he said. I just have a feeling. That was a long time ago. And former acting Attorney General of the United States, Matt Whitaker, did a great job. Thank you, Matt. Good football player, too. He's a good football player. Thanks, Matt. Hey, you're popular, Matt, huh? You're getting more and more popular. Every time I come, Matt gets more and more popular. He should. He's done a great job. We're here today for a very important reason, to commit to caucus. We know what that means, right? Commit to caucus. Exactly 100 days from now, each and every one of you is going to cast the most important vote of your lives. I believe that, too. I believe that this will be the most important election of our lives, because this country is headed in a horrible, horrible direction. And you saw what took place today in Israel, and we're going to talk about that in a second. But this country is just headed so badly. The Israeli attack was made because we are perceived as being weak and ineffective, and with a really weak leader. And we will discuss it in a few minutes. But isn't that a shame what's happening all over the world? Things are not what they were just 3 years ago. You take a look. They weren't ever as good, and now they are really probably maybe the worst we've ever seen in terms of our country. When you look at the Afghanistan pullout, You ever see anything like that? The most embarrassing moment in the history of our country? You need to get every patriot you know and make sure that they're registered. You have to register. And you got to register as, what are you going to register as a Republican? And get them out to vote and go to their local precinct caucus meetings at 7 p.m. on Monday. So it's 7 p.m. on Monday, January 15th, and we're asking you to bring 5 or 6 or 7 or 10 people with you, as many as you can. Get them loaded up. And we want to have a big, beautiful send-off, because then we have to go to war with the communists, fascists, racists, everything else you can be, Marxists. We're going to war with some very evil people, and frankly, some are good, but you got a lot of evil, very evil and bad people. We got to win. If we don't win, we're not going to have a country left. We are not going to have a country left if we don't win this election. And I used to say it about 2016. This is the most important election, and I meant it. This is now the most important election in the history of our country. So together, we're going to win the Iowa caucuses in a historic landslide. The more, the better. We've got to get them out. We've got to get them out. We have so many people. You know, when we did so well in 2020 with many millions or more, 12 million or so people more, 12 million more than we had. We had 63 million, and we got 12 million more. We did that, and everybody said, oh, well, that's a lock. Well, we're going to have to be very careful. We got to watch. We have plenty of votes. We got more votes. I worry about the ballots, those fake ballots that they put in. That's what I worry about. And we're not going to stand for it again. We're not going to stand for it. Together, we're going to win in Iowa. We're going to win these caucuses at levels that people haven't seen before. You know, we set the record last time. We're going to set it again, bigger and better. And next November, we're going to very simply make America great again, right? Make America great again. Thank you. Thank you. I've never seen spirit like this. The spirit is incredible. And don't forget, you know, at 1 year, we're not that close. This is like the evening before election stuff, right? But we're everybody's just, they can't wait for this event to take place and turn our country around. It's going to happen fast. I'm the only candidate in the race who, according to the polls now, can beat Biden. I mean, it's hard to believe. Don't forget, the Democrats start with an advantage. I won't tell you what the advantage is, but different people automatically vote. Different people vote, and they sort of are locked into that vote no matter how bad a guy is. If a man's grossly incompetent, he can't speak, he can't put 2 sentences together, he can't find his way off a stage. Let's see, there's a story. I got there. I could jump off this one. I could actually do it. He couldn't. Or I could just head back the way you came, right? It's pretty amazing. I watched the other day, 2 entrances, 2 exits, and he couldn't figure out how the hell do I get out of here. And he just made a statement on Israel. It lasted for less than 2 minutes, which is better than usual when you think about it. And naturally, he didn't take any questions. He doesn't take. I take questions from everybody. I do a press conference in the Oval Office. I would have some hostile people that you almost wonder, why are you so angry? You know, we're doing a great job. We had the greatest economy ever. All of the things. But I watch him take it, and I watch him pick up. We're doing little notes today instead of, I like the freelance or this or the teleprompter. We like this better, right? I like this better. The teleprompters are wonderful, but we like this better. But you know, I watched the other day as he goes, Mr. Cindy. I said, is there a guy named Cindy around? From NBC. So guy gets up, gives a question, and he looks down, he starts reading the answer. I say, what the hell is going on? I never had that. I was never, when they're screaming questions at me and you got to answer the questions, No, he was reading the answer, but we've seen that a few times, haven't we? It's pretty amazing. It's pretty sad if you want to know the truth. But the Republican primary, brand new Survey USA poll just came out. You saw that one, and that's rated A+. I don't know what that means. I think it means it's a good poll, but it's an A+ poll. We can't say that about a lot of them. And it has us at 65, Ron DeSanctimonious at 9. And as they say, he's sinking rapidly. They're being nice. He's like a wounded bird in the sky. He's coming down fast. In fact, he's actually in 5th place at a certain location that you know very well. But virtually all Americans were better off with a gentleman named President Donald J. Trump. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. To my people. You know, I shouldn't say this. I get myself in trouble. But I get myself in trouble with myself. When he says, I'm not allowed to talk, you say, who the hell's controlling this guy? I know, the people, the Marxists that surround him in the Oval Office, you know, that are all 35 years old or a little bit older, and they tell him exactly. But I will say that we are in a situation where I came and I made a statement, very strong statement. I said, I'm not going to lose Iowa. It was very cocky. Somebody said, sir, that's very cocky. I said, wait a minute. I can't lose Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, anybody that grows anything, even if you do one little thing of corn, I don't get, because I got you $28 billion from China. So I said, there's no way. I was very cocky. A couple of people said, sir, you should not take Iowa for granted. I said, I got him $28 billion. And I still feel that way, excuse me. Nobody else. And I got it from China. You think that was easy? Not so easy. Because they were very unfair to you. They really were very unfair for years and years and years. And I tell the story that the farmers stuck with me, you know, during that negotiation period. That was a rough period because they said, we're not going to buy anything. We're not going to, and they didn't. You know, they're tough and they're smart. And we did a good job. We negotiated good. We know how to negotiate, you know. We'd negotiate. We'd made many, many great trade deals, incredible trade deals. But China came back, and I thought I heard $15 million, that we wanted $15 million for them to buy. But I misunderstood them, and I said $50 million. I want $50 million. They said, sir, no, we have it for 15. I said, really? No, I said 50. I want 50. I thought you said 50. So no, we said 50. And I said, all right, I want 50. And we got 50. They're big. That was one I said to the farmers of Iowa, Nebraska. I said to all of them, Wisconsin, great place, Wisconsin, too. We actually won Wisconsin. We won Wisconsin. It took them after the election to determine that, you know. Can you imagine that? You actually won Wisconsin. Like it's routine. Oh, well, that's, and when you see some of the other ones that come out, too. But we actually won. But it's a great place. Not their fault. You know, we have a crooked system. We have a crooked system. Not their fault. They were angry. Everybody was angry. It was terrible. But we're going to do something that I think has never been done. You know, one of the things that, the best way to stop the cheating is to swamp them. You know, they can cheat, and they'll cheat a lot. They've already got the same lawyers going, the same thing. And we got hurt by COVID. When COVID comes out, you know, people didn't want to go out. They were afraid to go out, and a lot of things happened. But I always say they use COVID to cheat. But we're not going to let that, we're not going to have that, and we're not going to let that happen. But the way you do win, no matter what, is you swamp them. You swamp them. There's only so much they can do, you know. In other words, they can only cheat so much, even them. They're going to go for max, but they can only cheat so much. And we have some very good controls in place. But we delivered record increases because, you know, it's actually the two questions I get most is, number one, how do you do it, sir? How do you do it? How do you wake up in the morning and do it? I've been investigated by every investigator in the history of our country. It's the craziest thing. You speak up a little bit about the election. He's an insurrectionist. You take a look at what they've done to people, but they leave people in Portland that have destroyed it, the radical left. And the radical left is far more dangerous, in my opinion, than those on the right. Okay? Does that make sense? But, you know, they're trying to destroy our country, so they don't like to say that. But we delivered record increases in real family income. It went up by more than $6,000 a year, never anything close. With no inflation, gas prices at $1.87 a gallon. Think of that. And gas prices, I hate to tell you this, gas for all of those big tractors. Remember I told you, go out, you farmers, we're going to make a great deal with China. Everyone said, you'll never make that deal, by the way. And I don't even talk about that deal because of COVID. You know, it was just a step too far. I don't even discuss it. I talk about USMCA. I talk about a lot of things, the deal we made with South Korea, with Japan. I don't talk about the because it was a step too far, the COVID, what happened. Out of the Wuhan lab, which I said right from the beginning, that's where it came from. Now they're all saying, well, Trump was right. You ever see those hats? Trump was right about everything. It's common sense, most of it. Trump was right about everything. Under crooked Joe Biden, you know, I took that name away from Hillary. That was a good day for her. She was so high. She celebrated that night. Because I don't like using it, but it just seemed, we used to say Sleepy Joe, and we could call them both. But I think crooked Joe Biden is better. And I took it away from Hillary. Now we call her Beautiful Hillary. She's a beautiful woman. We call her Beautiful Hillary. And we took, it's a beautiful woman, great, it's great beauty, and we took it away. We took it away, and we're using crooked because for Joe it does fit, yeah, let's face it. But under Biden, the 30-year mortgage rate recently hit a 23-year high. I'm sure you're thrilled about that, those of you that are looking for financing and have absolutely no chance of getting it. Because, you know, number one, they don't give you money. Number two, if you get it, you have to pay a number that's crazy. Under my leadership, it hit an all-time low in history. Under my leadership, under what we did, we were talking about mortgage rates that were the lowest they've ever been for people going out and buying a house. That's really good. The Biden 2,000 monthly payment buys you a house worth, as an example, $300,000. And under Trump, it would have been $460,000. In other words, you picked up $160,000 just by having me as your president. And that'll happen again, except much more so. It'll happen again. So you pick up $160,000 in a very short period of time. Now it's going to happen again, much bigger, because we're going to do things like we're going to close the wall. Very simple. We're going to close the wall. Don't forget, we built 561 miles of wall. People hate to say that. You know, if there's a piece of wood laying on the ground, they say, that was a renovation. That wasn't. If there's an old piece of steel that's 40 years old that used to be a little bit of a railing, they say, that wasn't. We're building these things that are 30 and 40 feet high to the exact specifications of Brandon Judd, who's a fantastic guy, Tom Holman. They wanted exactly this. I said, I'd like to use concrete plank. They said, no, it's not as good. We need steel, reinforced steel. We need rebar. We need concrete inside. We need all different materials. I said, that's a little more expensive. You know that, right? But we did everything they wanted. And then we have an anti-climb bar on top. That's what that big steel panel is, which I never like the look. But they say, but it works much better. You can't get by it. It's called anti-climb. So I give you this little information. But we built 561. They said 460, but no, it's 561. We're getting ready to do another 200. It was ordered. It was built. It was all done. The hard part was done and laying there. And then we had a rigged election. And then Biden came in. And now they're selling that for 5 cents on the dollar, I understand. And now he said, let's go out and build a wall. Can you believe this guy? And this wall, they're going to have brand new stuff. This is the craziest. You know, when foreign countries watch all of this, they can't believe it. They say, how can anything? And don't kid yourself, the stupidity of Afghanistan, what happened there is one of the reasons that Putin went in, and one of the reasons that China's so aggressive all of a sudden. They weren't aggressive with me at all. They were very nice. They were very nice. I got along very well with them. They weren't aggressive, and Putin would have never gone into Ukraine. He would have never even thought about going. We talked about it. They hated that I got along with him. You know, they think it's a terrible thing to get along. They said about President Xi, they asked me, I said, yes, he's a very smart man. The headlines, Trump says that President Xi of China is smart, meaning it's a compliment. I said, no, what am I supposed to say? He controls with an iron fist 1.4 billion people, and they want me to say he's a dummy. He's not a dummy. And they've got our number now because we've got a dummy. We have a legitimate dummy. We have a legitimate dummy. So together, all of us, we created the greatest economy in the history of the world. History of the world. In fact, we really did it twice because we did it after COVID. COVID came in. Nobody knew what the hell it was. We did an incredible job. We've never gotten enough credit for the job we did with COVID. But that's okay because we got a lot of credit for other things and we got a lot of credit for the economy. But we did it twice. We built back the economy. The stock market was actually higher when we handed off on January 20th. The stock market was higher than it was just before the China virus came in. I call it the China virus because I like being accurate. You know, it's good to be. I also fought for, and nobody did this. I fought for the farmers. There's never been a president that fought so hard for the farmers and did so much for the farmers. And we ended in addition. How many people in this room are actual farmers? Real? Okay. That's good. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Everybody's indirectly related. She's a farmer, definitely. She's a good-looking farmer you are. But we also, in addition to the $28 billion, we ended the NAFTA disaster. It was the worst trade deal ever made in the history of our country. And we replaced it with what many say is the best trade deal, the USMCA. That's Mexico, Canada. And that deal is so good that Mexico and Canada are trying to renegotiate the deal now with the Biden administration. And I hope they're not going to be successful. For years we had to suffer with NAFTA. Then we make a great deal, and they want to renegotiate the deal. They better not renegotiate it. Under and unlike Ron DeSanctimonious, I've been unwavering because, you know, he was against ethanol, totally against. Now, all of a sudden, he came out for it the other day. I'm so impressed. One thing about a politician, because I've dealt with politicians all my life, then all of a sudden, I never thought I'd be one. And I guess I am a politician. But I will say one thing you always see with a politician, whatever they're in first, that's where they go. So he's coming. I heard he made some fairly positive statements about ethanol last week, finally, because he tried to kill it entirely. But guaranteed one thing for certain, he will try and kill it as soon as the election's over, if he wins. And if he wins, that'll be, I think it will be an electoral miracle based on the numbers. But he'll go back. Ron also, and some of the others, but Ron was very destructive on Social Security. He wanted to raise the minimum age, and he wanted to toy with it, and he wanted to weaken it. And I said, these people, they deserve it. We can do other things. Like, we can make so much money by doing a thing called drill, baby, drill. We don't need this. We don't need this. You know, we have more oil and gas than any country in the world. Most people don't know that. And it's very good, high quality, not like Venezuela. Do you believe we're buying their tar? You know, they have tar. It's very thick, very heavy, costs a lot. And you know where it gets refined? You know, for the environmentalists in the crowd? Let's see, there's a woman back there. For the environmentalists that hate this whole concept, it's refined, it's cleaned and refined in Houston, Texas. So this tar gets brought in because it's very, very heavy and very not good. But with money, you can make it beautiful. You can make it into a fine champagne if you want. But what happens is they bring it in, and all of those fumes go into the air. In America, isn't it great? So, you know, when I left, we had Venezuela on the run. We would have had something, and now they're buying oil from Venezuela. The whole thing is crazy. It's like April Fools. Everything is the same. We want open borders. We want no voter ID. Think of it. Everything they want is the opposite of what it should be. They take the oil from Venezuela, make the dictatorship wealthy as hell. They're sending out all the people. You're going to have like 15 rich people living in Venezuela with numbers that are going to be staggering. But, you know, Venezuela was ready to do an old foldo, and then this guy came along and he started buying their oil. I don't even call it oil, but buying their oil in numbers that nobody's ever seen before. It's a horrible thing that's happened. And I can say the same thing for Iran. You know, we were not allowing China to buy. I said, don't buy, because if you buy there, we're not going to let you do any business in the United States. They said, like I said, we won't buy. And they didn't. And we were ready to make a deal with Iran. Had the election not been turned out the way it did, to put it, I'm trying to be nice, right? Had it not turned out the way it did, like when I say that, I mean, had the election not been rigged, we would have had a deal. We would have had a deal with Iran. We would have had no inflation. Russia would have never, ever in a million years gone into Ukraine, and they didn't. You know, somebody said, well, how do you know? I said, because for 4 years, it wasn't even a thought. And I told Putin, you can't do it. And I told him what would happen if you did, and he said, no, you won't do that. I said, yeah, I will. I will do 100%, Vladimir. You and I are friends. My father always used to say, take the lumps out. He said, Vladimir, you and I are friends. We're good friends. But if you go in, we're going to hit real hard. And I can't tell you what I told him because it would be not a nice thing. But he said, no way you would do that. There's no way. I said, way. They go, no way. And you know what? The end result, I did a poor job. He didn't believe me. But you know what? He believed me 10%, and that was enough. And he never went in. But there's another reason he wouldn't go in. You know, you're close to $100. You're going to be over $100 a barrel very soon. You were at $100 after a short period of time with Biden. This guy was making a fortune. They were making a fortune in Russia and other countries with the oil. With me, I was at $40 a barrel, $30 a barrel. We were selling gasoline for much lower than the number I just gave you. We had times when we were actually lower. That's why I told you to go out and buy more land and bigger tractors. Remember that? I said, don't worry about it. Just go out, buy more land and bigger tractors. And a lot of you did. The ones that did came out very well because I made all those deals for the farmers and for your state. But just think about it. With him, I said two things. Number one, you can't do it. And number two, the oil price at $40 a barrel doesn't allow him to prosecute a war because they make money, but not that much, and they have to run a country. At $100 a barrel, they make a fortune. I mean, he'll be the first person to make a lot of money because right now they're making a tremendous amount of money. And isn't it interesting that Biden keeps talking about, you know, Ukraine and all, and everybody feels badly for Ukraine. One thing I have a problem with, though, is Europe, which is right there. And, you know, Europe is essentially the size of us. If you add all the countries together, it's basically the size of the United States. So if you look at it, Europe, so they're at $25 billion, and we're at $200 billion. Only a stupid person would make that deal. Why would they do that? I did that with NATO, too. You remember I said, no, wait a minute, everybody owes us money. They were delinquent. Almost every country was delinquent. And I said, you can't be delinquent. You have to pay. Otherwise, we're not going to protect you. And the head of a country actually stood up in a closed meeting. The press knew about it, very little reporting because it was too positive, and said, sir, does that mean that if we get attacked by Russia and we aren't paid up, you will not protect us? I said, yes, that's exactly what that means. Now, normally that would be a very controversial subject. But what happened is the money, hundreds of billions of dollars came pouring in. And Secretary General Stoltenberg, who's the head of NATO, was then and is now, it's a good man. I don't know if he'd still say this, but he said, Trump, that's the greatest job I've ever seen. He'd been working for his entire term trying to get other countries to pay, and he couldn't. And when I came in, everybody was just, the money was pouring in like gravy, so it was a great thing. And that's the money they have right now. But now we're doing the same thing. All you have to do is ask. If I ask you up, I say, look, here's the problem. We're in for $200 billion, and we have an ocean separating us, right? You're in for $25 billion, and you have no ocean separating you. Why aren't you paying up? And they would say, well, blah, blah, blah. You know, they always have. But if I say to pay up, they'll pay up. And they should equalize. If they're going to do this, they should equalize. Why are we $175 billion more? And I can tell you why, because we have stupid people representing us. That's why. And it's not a hard thing to sell. It's not a hard thing to sell. They understand it. Actually, I went to some countries and I got deals so easy. They said, we've been waiting for you. We've been waiting. They just immediately agreed because it was so ridiculous. Japan Prime Minister Abe was a great man. He was, as you know, a horrible thing happened. Shinzo, one of the people I liked the most, and assassinated. Can you believe it? Assassinated. And he was but he was an amazing guy. And I said, you know, Japan's really taken advantage of the United States, Shinzo. We have to do something. He said, I know. I said, what do you mean? He said, I know you're going to be coming. And we ended up making an incredible deal for farmers, manufacturers, and everybody else. I mean, we had a horrible deal. We ended up making it a fair deal, you know, a fair deal. A very good deal. They're tough to negotiate with, but a very good deal. He was a great guy. He was somebody that we miss. We created the strongest border in U.S. history. You know that, right? Built nearly 500 miles. We got Mexico to give us free of charge 28,000. So, you know, when these characters say, oh, Mexico, when I say Mexico will pay for the wall, they did, much more so than the wall. They gave us 28,000 soldiers for free. That's why we had the safest border in the history of our country. We had 28,000 soldiers while I was building the wall. Then we were adding that other 200 miles. We would have done it. We would have had that done within 3 weeks. All we had to do is install the panels. They were all built. Those are the ones you see sitting all over the ground. It's horrible. When I look at that, when I look at all of those things that we did, and then I just see the destruction that there's never been a president in the history of our country that's done a job so poorly, that's been so incompetent, so corrupt. There's never been anything like it. And I say, oftentimes, I'll say, you'll hear me say, you could take the 5 worst presidents in the history of our country, and they will have not, you can add them up, and they will not have done the damage that crooked Joe Biden has done. And I mean that 100%. And now I could add it. I think I could probably say, take the 10 worst presidents. He's a horrible president. The only one that loves him, really loves him, is Jimmy Carter. Jimmy Carter's in this. Thank you. I got that thing off my back. No, I think Jimmy Carter is going to go down as one of the greatest presidents in history by comparison to crooked Joe Biden. I think Jimmy was great. So it's nice, you know, he's pretty old. And he might even say, I really like Trump. He actually used to say, I really like Trump, I really like Trump. Then the Democrats got to him, and he changed his tune pretty quickly. But he did. He liked me. But he's the one happy. He's very happy with the job that Joe Biden is doing, which is basically a non-job. You know, if he would have gone to the beach, he's got a consultant somewhere. This is the worst consultant in politics that thinks he looks good in a bathing suit, right? No, he spends so much time at the beach. And, you know, how do you do that? And, you know, I have a much better body than him. But I'm not really sure that I want to expose it with the sun blaring down, the sand, the surf, the wind, you know. I mean, you know, it's not a pretty sight. And they make those chairs, they're actually miracles. They weigh like 3 ounces. They're meant for a child to carry. A child or a very old person to carry. Very, very old. I mean, like really old. And they weigh like, you know, ounces, right? He can't lift it. Remember when he said, I'd like to take him to the back of the barn. And I told him, I think I could go like this. And he'd go down. No, I think so. I hit a long ball. I hit a long ball in golf. I'm good golfer, all that stuff. This guy, I could hit a drive. It would take him 4 shots to catch up to where my drive is. But he used to talk about how he wants to take me to the back. And no, the press never criticized him for that. If I said that about him, they'd say, how violent. He's bringing violence into the equation. No, these are sick people. But if you want a president who leaves $500 million worth of wall materials, think of this, rusting in the desert, rusting in the sand, while illegal aliens stampede into your communities, walking over those panels, just walking right over them. They're laying there rusting and rotting brand new, beautiful stuff. Then you should vote for crooked Joe Biden. If, on the other hand, you want a president who will seal the border, and by the way, let people come into our country, but they have to come in legally. Is that okay? But we have to stop the invasion and reclaim our sovereignty on day one, and that's what we will do. We will, because right now we don't even have a nation. Between our bad elections and our open borders, you need borders and you need elections, and then you start going from there. And we have horrible open borders. Who would even think of it, the people coming in, think of it. They're from prisons and jails, there is a slight difference. They're from mental institutions and insane asylums. There is a slight difference. You know, insane asylum is like Silence of the Lambs stuff. That's serious stuff. That's Hannibal Lecter. How good an actor was he? How good an actor was he? Did he play a good role, right? But insane asylums, they're emptying them out. Mental institutions, and then, of course, terrorists are coming in. And, you know, in 2019, there was a report I saw it on one of the fake news channels, but in this case, I don't think it was fake. They said that for 2019, I think the year was, they caught no terrorists. There were no terrorists coming into our country. And last month, as you know, they reported the highest number of terrorists that they've ever reported coming into our country. We're going to be paying a price. We're going to have the largest deportation operation in history, but we're going to be paying a price. So as you also know, I appointed nearly 300 judges and 3 great Supreme Court justices who gave us incredible, incredible victories. You know, last week, I don't know, 2 weeks ago, if you go to college and you have bad marks and they let you in, but they don't let somebody else, it's called the merit system. They approved the merit system. Even I was surprised by that. They approved a merit system. So now you get into places, but in particular, in this case, colleges, you have good marks and somebody has bad marks, you get in. Before, other people got in for all sorts of reasons. They approved the merit system is what this country is all about. Is that amazing? And something that when politicians learn how to talk about it, they ended Roe v. Wade. They ended it. And politicians just don't know how to talk about it. And we talk about it, and we talk about it proudly, but they ended Roe v. Wade. But I watched some of the politicians, some of your local politicians actually, talking about it. They don't understand. The Democrats are the radicals because they'll kill a baby in 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months, and even after birth. They're allowed to kill, in some cases, after birth. You remember the crazy former governor of Virginia, where he was explaining what happens. And then if it's after the 9th month and the baby is born, you put the baby aside, you discuss with the mother, and if the mother doesn't want the baby, we execute the baby. This is part of their thing. Now think of it. So they're the radicals, but you have to say that. You know, they always make the pro-lifers the radicals. They're the radicals. And when you think, now I happen to be like Ronald Reagan, the exceptions, rape, incest, life of the mother, the exceptions, 3 exceptions. I happen to be there. I think 75% or so, I see polls, I don't know. You have to follow your heart. But very hard to win elections without that, to be honest. Very hard to win. But you have to be able to speak about the subject. What happened was an incredible thing. They've been trying to get it for 52 years. They failed. For 52 years exactly, they've been trying to get it terminated, bring it back to the states. So many different things we won. But before, we had no power to negotiate. A pro-lifer had no power to negotiate. Now you have massive power to negotiate, and something will be negotiated because you have 2 sides to every, you have people with other views, but we have a very strong view. But we had no power whatsoever until I came along and appointed 3 people that made this possible. And so you have now massive power to negotiate. And remember, again, you have to say, again, you have to follow your heart, but the exceptions, but you have to say, and it's so important, you have to say, they are the radicals. We are not the radicals. You can't kill. One thing, every poll says, regardless of what side you're on, and it's very even, it's about 49-51, and then it's 51-49. It switches over the years. This is for decades it switched. But you have to be able to say what's in your heart. You have to be able to fight for that issue if you believe in that issue. And a lot of people believe in that issue. But now for the first time, you have tremendous power to talk and to negotiate. The one thing the polls all say is that after the 4th month, or at least a certain number of months, everybody, no matter how much on the other side of the issue they are, don't want to see the baby killed. Everybody. And under Roe v. Wade, they could execute the baby at any time. You remember when I said with the debate, you ripped the baby out of the womb with Hillary. I said she's willing to rip the baby out of the womb in the 9th month. And the whole place winced. Even she winced. Because nobody wants to see after a certain time, any time, but after a certain time, almost 100% of the people agree in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 4th month, but the 9th month and after birth, they don't want to see that happen. They don't want to see that take place. So when you speak about it properly, perhaps like I just spoke about it, I don't know, but when you speak about it properly, otherwise it's been a very devastating issue. That's what happened in the midterms. You had politicians that had no idea how to talk about the issue. It was new. It was shocking because nobody thought it would happen. I got that for you. And I got that for a lot of people they consider that to be the greatest achievement. But I just say, speak about it properly. Speak about it right. It's an amazing thing that happened. And now you have tremendous powers of negotiation. And some people say, oh, Trump isn't pro-life enough. And other people look at him and say, I don't care what he's saying. That's the guy that got us here to talk in the first place. Because nobody else could have done it. Nobody else could have done it. So you're going to speak about it. You're going to speak about it properly and intelligently. It's a very, very complex issue and all. But we did a tremendous thing. Because remember, nobody, at a certain period of time, nobody wants to see death to those babies. Nobody. Almost, you could say, almost the most radical people on the other side. The Hamas terrorist invasion of Israeli territory, and the murder of Israeli soldiers today, and the brutal murder of citizens is an act of savagery that must and will be crushed, it has to be dealt with very powerfully. This is a time where the United States needs leadership. We don't have leadership. But Israel is at war, and the United States obviously is going to stick with Israel, and strongly. The war happened for 2 reasons. The United States is giving and gave to Iran $6 billion, $6 billion, over hostages. And, you know, there was a very good trade. They got 5 hostages. We got 5 hostages. Okay, that's the good news. The bad news is, and their hostages were tough, by the way, I have to tell you. That was, okay, let's assume they're doing just fine. But it was 5 for 5. But in addition to that, we agreed to free up $6 billion. And that is an absolute disaster. And I would not be at all surprised if part of that tremendous wealth that they just accumulated went into all of a sudden watching this level of aggression. They didn't have that level of aggression with me. They didn't have it. This would have never happened with me either. You know what wouldn't have happened? Ukraine wouldn't have happened. Taiwan and all this tough talk with Taiwan wouldn't have happened. And what's going on with Israel right now, people were shocked. I wasn't shocked because 2 weeks ago we gave them $6 billion. Think of it. So we get 5, they get 5, but the difference is we have to give $6 billion. $6 billion! Does anyone know what a billion is? $6 billion. It's like it's water. And we have now, our country is a perceived, you know, we're really a country that's looked at with this tremendous perceived weakness with a grossly incompetent and corrupt president. He's an incompetent man. He's corrupt. I don't know if he makes it to the starting gate. I hope, I guess, in a way he does. You know, we want to, and I say it all the time, and I mean it 100%. I would rather that Joe Biden right now, instead of being one of the worst presidents, and I think without question the worst president, the most corrupt president, the most incompetent, I would rather have him be a great president, even though that would mean likely we wouldn't be doing this, either that or we wouldn't win. But if he were a great president and our country was doing well and we were respected throughout the world and we wouldn't have all of what's happening in our cities, our Democrat-run cities are really going to hell. They're going to hell. When you look at stores being looted by hundreds of people that run into the stores and run out with television sets, and our great policemen aren't allowed to do anything. They want to, but they're not allowed. They don't want to lose their families. They don't want to lose their sons and daughters and their houses and their pensions and all of that, and they could stop it very quickly. And we just allow them to roam in and roam out. Everybody's out there. You have cameras. These same cameras are out there shooting these people walking out with television sets. Then you announce these big department stores and drug chains are leaving the city. You look at what's gone on with New York and San Francisco and Chicago and Los Angeles, and they have one thing in common. They're run by liberal Democrats that they don't want to do anything to murderers. They leave murderers alone. Like we have an attorney general in New York. She's grossly incompetent. She's an evil person. She's a terrible, terrible attorney general. Businesses are fleeing. She goes after Trump, but she doesn't go after murderers all over the place. And we have to get that. We just have to get that changed. So if you think about it, 4 years ago, we did something that was, everyone said Trump is going to get the Nobel Peace Prize. I said, no, I won't, because they won't do that. They gave it to Obama immediately upon taking office, and he actually said he has no idea what he got it for. I did more deals to save people's lives, but I did something called the Abraham Accords with some tremendously talented people in the administration. And had the election been on the up and up, we would have had that whole thing would have been signed, sealed, and I think I would have had Iran in there too. I think you would have had massive peace, but the Abraham Accords is a phenomenal thing. But think of it, so 4 years ago we had the Abraham Accords, and today we have Israel being attacked, viciously attacked. It's a big deal. It was a big attack with a lot of dead people all over the place. Who would think that? And the only difference is, I believe, it's a difference between one president and another president. And there are many other things. You wouldn't have inflation because energy caused inflation. And this guy stopped. You wouldn't have Ukraine because at $30 and $40 a barrel, he wouldn't be able to afford it. But I say much more importantly, he wouldn't have done that to me. I told him not to. You can't do it. You can't do it, Vladimir. And he wouldn't have done it. But even if he wanted to, he wouldn't have been able to, at $30 or $40 a barrel, wouldn't have been able to prosecute that war, wouldn't have been able to do it. And you wouldn't be having all the problems that you have right now with China. China's become very hostile. They weren't hostile with me. They weren't hostile with me. They called me sir. They don't call him sir. You know what they call him? Can you imagine what they say about him after he leaves? They said, do you believe that? They think it's a trick that I'm playing on them. They think I'm playing a trick because we were doing very well with China. They gave us hundreds of billions of dollars. Not one president in this country, not one, got 10 cents from China. Many presidents, not one. I got hundreds of billions of dollars from China. So we're going to obliterate the deep state. We did a lot of work on that. We got rid of Comey and a lot of guys, but then we got the whole thing with that dust flying over from China. We had to do it, but we're going to get rid of the deep state. They're bad. They're hurting our country. You look at what they're doing with weaponization, and now it's politics. It's let's indict Trump or whoever it may be. You know, I mean, that would mean that if I were elected and I had somebody hot on my tail, I mean, we're beating him by a lot. I say, you know, that guy's doing really well. Indict him for something. Very easy, you know. Indict him for walking across the street incorrectly. Gets indicted, he's out of the race. Now, the nice part about my indictments is they've driven us up because people realize they're fake and phony and they're political. I'm the only man in the history of politics in the United States of America who got indicted 4 times. You know Al Capone? Did anybody ever hear of Alphonse Capone? He was a seriously vicious gangster. He didn't get indicted 4 times, only once. And I got, my whole life, I never heard the word practically. And all of a sudden, within a few weeks, it's like, man. And how about going home? First lady, I have a little news for you. What? I just got indicted. Or they intend to indict me because I called the election rigged. They wrote books about it. And what about Hillary? What about all the Democrats about what they said about 2016? To this day, they've gone very quiet lately. Do you notice that? They've got very quiet lately. No, I'm the only person that ever got indicted whose poll numbers shot up through the roof because the people of our country, they know me. They know me. And they say, wow. And I also have a voice. I'm able to speak about it. I mean, a normal politician gets indicted, and we've seen it hundreds of times over the years. They go to a microphone about 15 seconds after getting the pink slip. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to announce that I'm going home to my family. I will fight for the rest of my life to get a... Do you understand? This is standard. With me, it's different. We've gone up through the roof. We have the highest poll numbers anyone's ever seen. Because people know that these are corrupt. They've weaponized our Department of Justice. They've weaponized the FBI. You see what they're doing to many other people, Catholics, school, parents. Look at what they're doing to parents. Who would think that a politician has to get up today and say, we will stop the mutilization of your children? They mutilize your children. We're going to stop it. If you said that 10 years ago, people would say, is this guy crazy? Who would think? And that's what can you believe what they're doing? We will fight for parental rights. No, but you have to say that. No. Who would think you have to say that? Who would think you have to say that? Who would think you have to say, we will not allow men to participate in women's sports? Who? Right? I mean, 10 years ago, if you made these statements, they'd say, why aren't they making these stupid statements? Is this some kind of a... What's going on here? They wouldn't understand it. We have to make those statements. Women are now finally starting, and they were afraid to speak up, even on the same team. The swimmer, a giant guy, Wilt Chamberlain was like... Wilt Chamberlain had a small wingspan compared to this guy. And I tell the story, she looks left, she sees people, top-of-the-line swimmers, all-American swimmers, great. Sort of been swimming against the same people because, it's like a pyramid. You go up and you got that little group of people, golf, baseball, swimming, anything. Weightlifting, the weightlifting's the worst because it shows it's so obvious. But she looks left, she sees her friends that she's been competing with for 10 years. She looks right, she sees the same friends he's competing with. But she's going to break that record. But she notices a person standing alongside of her, and he's looking up. She's looking up, and he's a giant. But he transitioned. And I always say, and she goes, this is going to be more difficult than I thought. She wants to break the record. And she goes in, and then she's sadly bad. You know what happened to her? Badly injured. She was injured because the speed of him going by her was so fast that the wind knocked the hell out of her. She was badly. She suffered from massive windburn. Massive. But she's okay now. No, it's so ridiculous. And the guy finishes the race and he sits down to relax while they're... It's so horrible for women. It marginalizes them. It's so bad. And they don't speak up enough. The weightlifter you saw the other day, I think it was 150-pound difference. A young woman, the top of her class, the best. And they put a quarter of an ounce on one side, a quarter of an ounce on the other, and she couldn't make it. I don't like to do this because, my wife, I have a wonderful wife, the great First Lady, who's very popular. She says to me, darling, I don't like when you do the weightlifting thing or even the swimming thing because it doesn't look presidential. I said, let me tell you, it's much easier to look presidential than it is to do the shtick that I have to do at these places. And this is why we have, and she doesn't like when I dance a little bit going off, Okay, she's watching now. Okay. We will put it nicely. I was going to say, is she wrong or right? We're not going to do that. We're going to say it a little different. Who likes to see just a tiny little dance on the way out? Okay. And you promise you'll vote for me even though it doesn't look totally presidential. By the way, I won't be doing that dance in the right places. You understand that. We do that dance because we're actually happy because we see something happening. We're going to turn this country around. That's worthy of dancing. But we're going to stand up to communist China. We'll secure the elections. We'll fully defend our Second Amendment, which is under siege. You know that? 4 years, I didn't do a thing. We didn't touch it. And that was not easy. We will bring back free speech in America, and we'll defend the Judeo-Christian values of our nation's founding. And just in finishing, and it's been an honor to be with you today. It's really fun. It's really fun. You know, when you have love in the room. I have friends that say, how do you do it? How do you get up before a crowd like that? And I got all these maniacs in the back doing with the television, too. You know, that's a lot of people. It's millions of people. How do you do it? And I say, it's easy because there's so much love in these rooms. It's true. It's much easier. If there was great hostility, it is. It's much tougher, but there's incredible love in these places that I go to all over the country. There's never been anything like it. There's never been more enthusiasm. I've never seen anything like it. And all we have to do, we have to hold for 1 year. We got to do our January for your state. You got to do it. Iowa in January. So on January 15th, it's a Monday, show up. You got to do that. You got to show up and grab your friends and get in there defeating crooked Joe Biden. I think it's one of the most important things. Can you imagine this guy with more time? Even having him in there for a year is horrible because the damage he's doing to our country. Because we have to do something. I don't know if you looked at the border pictures today. Thousands and thousands, they're pouring into the country, and they don't do anything about it. And, you know, look, they can't be stupid because anybody that can cheat on elections like that's not stupid. They either are stupid or they hate our country because all of these things, no voter ID. Why won't they approve voter ID? We want to have, why? The only reason they won't approve voter ID is because they want to cheat. There's no other reason. You know, the Democrat National Convention that was held, the last one, they had IDs that were so big, that were so egregious. It was sort of like this. It was like this. It was chained around their necks. It was like that. Face, fingerprints, everything. They had everything. But not for voting. We don't want it for voting. If you buy a loaf of bread, you got to have your ID out. But for voting, you don't. No, it's a horrible thing. These are people with bad intentions. That's all it is. So we're going to defeat Crooked Joe. We're going to defeat the Democrats. We're going to turn our country around. We're going to make it great. We're going to make it better than ever before. We have to move, though. We have to move. So text, and we want you to get involved. And so text Iowa to 88022 or sign up at ia.donaldjtrump.com. And get involved. You know, we kept you first. You know that, right? It was only me. It wasn't anybody else. No other politician. I hope other politicians around don't take credit for it. Brad, I don't think they take credit for it, do they? The only one I'll give credit for is Brad. Brad, because he wouldn't let me do that, right? He was a great guy, that guy. It's funny, those early people, you just never forget them, right? I'll tell you, you never forget them. I got to get him to run for another office. I think he's been there. They love him so much. I think he's shaking his head. They love you so much they wouldn't let you do it, your people. But I just want to say we have to win this. We have to win it big. Go out and caucus. We're gonna do numbers that we've never done. That we have to. If we don't take back our country, we're not going to have a country. If we do take back our country will be greater than ever before. I promise you that. Thank you very much, Iowa. Thank you. It's a great honor. God bless you all. God bless you all. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much.